You are listening to the Decipher podcast, hosted by the Super Bash Brothers. Alright, yo. What up? We back. Decipher podcast.
Yeah.
We got a special guest today. First guest, Cam Mookie Moore.
Aw, snaps.
From New York, SoCal, Desert. What else? No Petus.
He got a long resume. We can read it off. But...
M-Town, yo. M-Town.
No Petus.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on the pod.
Yeah.
Talk some dance crap.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hopefully make people mad. Dance nerd.
So I think today we're kind of going to just get into a bunch of different topics because we all got ADD, but for the most part, we're going to talk a lot about the New York scene and then the Cali scene because he kind of dipped out of the Cali scene and went into the New York scene. And things have changed while he's been gone, but we don't know much about the New York scene. He's also a social media guru, so there might be some social media nerdness happening. So just take all that in if you got that. So
take out your pen and paper.
Right, take notes. Bookmark this. Favorite it.
I was actually it was in New York. It was at a party in Brooklyn, and we were talking about the twins.
Lay Twins?
Yeah, and so it was me, really dope dancer named B Polite, and then a couple younger guys. So we were just talking about the twins. I think it was there just in like a guest thing on Where to Dance or whatever. And so then they were talking, and I was telling those kids, I was like, oh yeah, those guys are good. They haven't been as good because they got big now, because they don't like actually be good. You should look at the stuff when they were on freaking Battle of the Year, and I was like talking to Brian, and then like they pulled out their phones and they're like writing notes. I'm like, are you guys writing notes? They're like, yeah, man, I've never heard half this.
That's right.
And so they asked my opinion of the twins. So I was like, well, the twins' style, like their movement is amazing, their musicality is amazing, but their style's fucking horrible. Like they take from all these different styles and they're really bad at those styles. But because their movement and musicality is so good, it doesn't really matter.
And they commit to it.
Yeah, and they commit. And so, like, their musicality is fucking bonkers. Like, all you have to do is look at their very first competition for Battle of the Year, and it just, like, blows everything away. Like, even now, like, they got a little bit lazy because they can kind of just get settled in their groove. But if you, like, really break down their style, like, their individual pieces that they're taking from are really bad. And they're just... But at this point, we don't really need it, you know? It's like just a hodgepodge of a bunch of stuff anyways. And I think if they actually wanted to learn any of those styles, they probably would freaking kill it. But then honestly, what's the point, you know? Like, they could just do them.
For sure, they pick it up.
Yeah.
I feel like they watched You Got Served like a jillion times.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, for reals.
But if you watch that very first Battle of the Year that they performed in or they competed in, that's exactly what it was. It was like literally watching a You Got Served movie, but as two kids, and they were just killing it. Like their in syncness and like if they were gonna
a synergy, a twin synergy like that going on with them.
And at that time, like no one ever seen it before. I mean, you kind of see a little bit now because that's what a lot of the hip hop freestyling rap is going towards. But like it was dope to see that kind of a synergy, and so it was fun to watch them at that time. And then they've like gotten better to a point, and now they've gotten pretty big. So it's like, but then again, it's like, do you want to take a class from them?
I heard stories
to like move around.
People have had stories about their classes, and it's
but like
not a good thing.
Yeah, like what are you going to learn? You know, like I think that's the part too where the people want to take classes from like dope dancers, but not every dope dancer is a good teacher.
Yeah,
but not every teacher is a dope dancer. You know, they just have a better understanding of it. You know, like I could teach b-boy, but I wasn't an amazing b-boy, but I have the good foundation understanding. You know.
Yeah, and you can break that down too. You could be a dancer and not be able to choreograph, and you could be a choreographer that can't really pick up or mimic well.
Yeah.
And then you branch that out to you could be a director and amazing director and not have to be a choreographer or whatever, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, because a lot of dance is indicative of Black culture and a lot of it's show and prove, so it's harder to kind of get that across. Like, I'm not going to a ballet studio and being like, hey, best person here that owns this studio, do some ballet to prove to me that you're good.
That this place is legit.
Yeah, exactly. That's 30 years ballet experience. Like, I don't care. I need to see it. Right. But Black culture is very show and prove, and that's spilled over into dance culture. So it's like once you quote unquote stop dancing, you're not relevant anymore. Like, oh, how are you going to talk about dance? You're not even
super facts.
Blah 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 blah.
I've been saying.
It's like, dude, just because I'm not dancing right now, it still doesn't mean I can't smash you right now. It's like, it's like. Just give me a little stretching time, you know? Give me
Maybe a little longer. Longer.
You know?
Because the age.
Yeah, you know?
Stretch it a little longer.
Like, can I get a high waist over around the rocks, please? That's water on the side. All right, let's go. But yeah, man, it's interesting to watch from afar now. I think that's my interesting part. Where
From an outside perspective, what do you think the difference between West Coast dancing? Let's talk general and East Coast dancing. For me, for us here in the West Coast, it's more choreo based, and there's a freestyle community out there. But I think New York is freestyle based, and choreography is now like growing out there. You know, they're catching up to innovation and all that stuff.
yeah, I think it's the biggest difference is like a lot of the dancers in New York go there with specific, like they want to learn a specific style. So like they'll come there if I'm from a foreigner or from another place. I want to learn hip hop, so I take hip hop classes, and this is this is classic hip hop, '90s, whatever, new jack swingish type shit, whatever. Or I want to learn house, I want to learn Vogue, I want to learn whacking, I want to learn hustle. Like they want to learn very specific things, and then as they learn those things, they get better at each one, and then they start to find their own freestyling groove about it. Like it's like some of the best freestylers in New York City know literally 9 different styles. Like I probably know 8 to 9 styles. I probably can competently teach 3 or 4 of them. But then I have a nice treasure trove to pull from if I wanted to freestyle.
Right.
Where in the West, it's more, and plus the people look at dance as more of like a life. Like that's their life, Like I work at a cafe, but I'm a dancer. I dance 6 hours a day, and I'm doing make sure. Yeah, I'm like, what are you dancing for again? Like, where's this? Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Too much grown talk.
Yeah.
But
as opposed to here in the West Coast, you want to be professional.
Exactly. Or even that, like you're going to school and you're like in your college degree, and then you join a dance team, and it's a hobby and like it's fun, and then maybe if you get good enough, maybe you'll ditch the 9 to 5 and go dance, but like it's more of a hobby. Like it still might be your life, quote unquote, but you're doing other things on top of it, And I think that was the biggest transition that I saw, where like people in New York and just that they took that shit seriously. Like it was legit, 6 hours a day practicing like b-boys. There's like hopping from different open sessions all that time. Make sure you go to the club. Clubs close at 4. Go get something to eat, sleep, work whatever job you have. And then now, because when I was there, me and like Teen and like a couple other guys, we're like the only ones that actually had 9 to 5 jobs. So it'd be like 4 o'clock in the morning on like a Tuesday. I'm like, shit, I gotta wake up like 3 hours. Like for what? It's like, oh, I have a job. Like, you have a job? Right. It's like, I might have to start a website called Dancers with Degrees.
Right.
But that's East Coast though. But in the West, like
because
everyone.
What do you think it is? Is it their environment?
I think it's the ease of access. I think it's the environment, and then it's the call. Like people go to New York to learn about hip hop and dance and that kind of stuff. Like with that mentality.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. And then when they get there, they leave usually disillusioned because it's not what they think it's going to be. Like that's just various reasons of economics and
it's the environment.
Yeah, exactly. And also too, like think about it. Like New York's a dope place, but it's horrible to like the dance lifestyle. Like it's expensive. And, you're you and like 8 people in the freaking small apartment.
You gotta shack up, but out there it's kind of like the norm.
Yeah.
Here it's like, oh, you live with like 8 other dancers? That's weird.
Yeah.
Out here it's not a cool thing, but out there that's normal.
Yeah, totally true. And then also like there's more dancer vagabonds, and so as you get better at dance, whether you win competitions or you get a name for yourself, then you start to travel. You're teaching in Moscow, and Thailand, and Singapore, or whatever. Like I just saw Hurricane. He's in the Bay, hanging out with Little B, the locker, and like they're all on Orthodox, one of those ones. But anyways, they're all in the locking crew, and so he just got back from Asia. He was in Japan, he was in Korea, and now he's in the Bay, and he's gonna be in LA for like 2-3 weeks. Like his home base roughly is New York, but like he's always traveling and stuff like that. But the Bay people, like they have the core people. I'm in school, I'm finishing, and then once they finish school, then they kind of figure out that leap. Okay, am I going to be a dancer or am I going to be like our nurse? And then they kind of figure that out. So I just think it's more the mentality where the dancers that are in New York, they're like, okay, I want to be a dancer, and they don't really think farther than that. But that's their main motivation. Where like Bay Area is always like, well, this is my hobby. It's like my passion. If I can make money from it, I'll figure that out. But if not, I'm just gonna work at Google and then I'll dance on the side.
Yeah, and it's switching culture there too, because birthplace of hip hop.
Yeah.
Not necessarily house, because that's not where it originated, but a lot of the OG dance.
Yeah, like a music, and I think that's even house too. Like, now it's interesting because music wise, Chicago is kind of like the birthplace. Dance wise, it kind of came more of the disco era and all that kind of in New York, but then it blended. And while I was there and I was learning from a lot of those people, one of the cool things that kind of showed was like, at the time, all the hip hop clubs, especially in the 90s, were getting shut down because of the guns and violence and stuff like that. So then all the hip hop dancers had to go to the disco clubs, which is house and all that. So, but in those clubs, the majority, there's a huge gay scene as well. And so there's a lot of voguing and there's a lot of whacking. So if you're a hip hop dancer and you hop into the circle, a voguer will come and literally shush you out of the circle. So as a hip hop dancer, you had to learn Vogue so you could match the person there. So it forced a lot of them to learn different styles of dancing so that if they were in a circle, they could compete with whoever would try to step to you. Yeah. And so
I think that's so crazy. Like I've seen scenes like you've seen this hard ass like hip hop dancer in the house, and all of a sudden he flips it and he's like voguing,
and then
it's whoa,
it's like, super dope because it makes, to me, that's the versatility that's super interesting. So like I learned voguing from like a huge 6'5" black dude, huge, and so he was teaching me, and I was like, okay, I get it, I get the lines, but I don't understand the feel. Yeah. So he was like, you have to be fierce, but as a straight man, as opposed to being fierce as a gay man. Like he was like, oh, being fierce is easy, which is true, but as a straight man, like how am I supposed to portray fierceness as like without that bitchiness or the
or trying to pretend you're gay?
Yeah, exactly. You know,
it comes off.
And it comes off like that. So that's what he was trying to convey. He was like, yeah, as a straight man, you got to be fierce. So how would you do that? And like I was like, well, there's certain aspects and movements and stuff like that. And then I was laughing because for me, when I'm voguing, and I'm not even that good, I'm like just basics, but I would be like, okay, every time I do a move, I'd be like, boobs, 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 because I'm like, what excites me, but it still makes me fierce. And I was like, but I was laughing because like he started laughing and he was like, if that works for you, right? That makes sense. Yeah. But I appreciate that he actually was like thinking in that aspect.
Right. I get it.
And so,
because I would think hair for me. If I was to vote, I would like hair for instance.
Yeah, like what's that motivation? But then, but that's the thing that I liked a lot about learning stuff when I was in New York was like everyone had a mixture of the different dance styles and appreciation for it. Whether you could do it or not, you'd still appreciate and respect it. Like, and then understanding the difference between Vogue and understanding the difference between whacking. It's like it's not two different. It's not mixed together. It's a specific thing. You know?
It's like popping and locking. It's not pop lock.
Yeah, exactly.
Pop lock and drop.
But it made me have a better appreciation for that. So then now, when I would do different distinct styles, I know what I'm doing, so I could show that like if I was actually telling my girlfriend, I was like as a dancer, I don't really care as much anymore because the people that I really wanted to impress are all old and like, but they're the ones that came over once they saw me in the circle, whatever, patting the shoulder. And I was like, all right, it's better than any competition I could ever win. Like the respect of your peers, like that. But I think a lot of times the younger dancers, they don't have that anymore. They just have the social media, like I got 1,000 likes on this video, or I killed it, or
they find more value in that than somebody coming over and saying, "Hey, good job," or "I like your style."
Yeah,
there's a disconnect there for me. Like as we're talking, like I feel like we need to bridge that gap. And
I just don't know if we can.
We're doing it now, right? We're helping the cause.
Yeah, we started.
We're doing a podcast and we're sharing our thoughts as elders in the community, like. But it's sad for me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, also like a good example. Like I used to help run the house open session in New York at PMT, and it was started by Byron, who's in a house dance project, and he's in Finland now. But me, him, and Cricket used to run it for a while, and Cricket's like Head of Natives and a bunch of other like step themes and stuff. But yeah, every Friday. 3 hours, house session, open, all levels. There's no real whatever. It's not really a teaching place. It's more to go get down and just practice what you learned at whatever class before, or you just want to stretch out, whatever. But it was really, really dope. And he would encourage his newbie classes that, like, he'd do like an intro class and he'd tell those dancers, like, hey, you should come and practice what I just taught you today at the open session. And then you would be with other people that are different various levels, and they would help folks all the time. And B-boys would come through, hustle people would come through, locking, whacking, voguing. So you would kind of have a nice little synergy of people that you could learn from and like do all that. So a lot of B-boys that were like trying to work on their dancing and just their groove, they would just come and hang out and just kind of soak in that vibe. Yeah, I learned my lofting from just going to sessions and like a lot of like voguing and all that kind of shit.
But it's different out here. We don't have that.
Yeah, there's not that much open
sessions. It's not just like a regular session. And it's not like the people teaching these classes are saying, hey, go to this session or go to this club. We don't have those clubs out here. We don't have the same kind of environment. So that's why the environment is very important, and maybe that's where us as older people didn't become promoters for clubs to have access to throw these parties, or those are the things we don't have that we kind of had at least back in the day, but now we don't have them at all.
Yeah, because even us when we used to do the b-boy session at Sounds Like State, that was like open to everyone, and like the only rule was like if a noob or like a younger DJ b-boy would ask you a question, you have to help. Like you couldn't be a dick and just be like, nah. But like if you're gonna practice here for free, like some noob's gonna ask you, hey man, how do you do the move? And you have to be gracious enough to be like, oh yeah, just do this, and that helped the community vibe and make it cool. And then, but like that open session is dope because everyone would stop by. It would be from the Twins to freaking Ejo to Stretch to like some random kid from Utah or like, and they would just come in and since New York always has a wave of like foreigners and people from different places, different people would stop by and drop by. And then, some kid I used to see every day, every week for like 6 months, he moved to like Shanghai and now he teaches house out there. And like, we literally taught him 90% of his house. Yeah. So we got into a mode of just teaching tons of people and being free with the information too. Because like, I already had a full-time job. I don't care about freaking like getting gigs to teach places. But at the same time, they remember me and like, oh yeah, I remember you taught me how to do handstands right and da-da-da-da. I was like, I did? Oh, cool. But just being free with that information.
For sure. I need to do a better job at it too myself. Like, we just did Hip Hop Dance Fest recently. And when I presented it to the team, they were like, what's that? What show is that? And I was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
At first, I look in first, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm not doing a better job at like educating the kids. But at the same time, I can't take full blame for it because Hip Hop Dance Fest didn't reach out to the younger generation.
Yeah.
Although it's been around for 20 years.
Damn, it's been 20?
Yeah, man.
But they're trying to hold this image of being this high prestige event.
Oh, because it's like Palace Fine Arts, which is still dope. Like we performed
different
there
demographic.
3-4 times.
Yeah, exactly. Different demographic for sure.
So it's like, man, the kids are not even, for me, I'm trying to get past the I don't want to humble brag with my kids, but I'm understanding slowly that I need to like, hey, this is what I've done, this is what's before me.
The only way you can be better than me is to do what I did and more.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
That's how you have to just treat it. Like, do what I done and then more than that.
For sure.
If you haven't even done what I done, then
Yeah, but even the like Hip Hop International one in Vegas, like that was like a toy event for like how many years? Like nobody does that stuff. Like no one was doing it. I think Mind Tricks and them did it once, and they're just like, meh.
I didn't even know about it.
Yeah, I knew it I knew it, but it was like no one.
Because they have an aerobics.
Yeah, it was just like it was silly.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I think who did it? I think Jeff Watkins did it, or somebody that was credible did it once, killed it, and then after that became a thing, and now it's like a thing now. Like there's juniors and people come from around the world and
everywhere.
Yeah. So it's like super interesting to watch. But then also, like I was talking to folks that did America's Best Dance Crew, like, yeah, you guys killed the scene, guys. It's like you guys made the cheerleaders, and now there's flips, and there's this, and there's like blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of cool because now a whole generation of dancers are from that, watching that, which is good and bad. It's good because it's like, okay, there's more dancers, but then it's bad because they take the wrong parts of it.
it's all about being on stage or on camera. It's not about like going to vibe in session. It's like we just only rehearse because we want to get on stage and show off and be on the gram.
Yeah, pretty much. And it was sad because like when I was really into house and I was teaching more, like I would teach at company classes and stuff, and like the way I teach is not really indicative to be on the gram. Like I'm not teaching you a routine so you guys look, you're gonna suck. Like
to show it after.
Yeah, like house takes a while to learn. Like you can't do one class and you get automatically.
You can get the steps.
Yeah, I can get you a little bit of a groove and like you feel good at a certain point, but you're gonna suck for a while. Like I sucked at house for 2 years before I was actually good.
I didn't get the loose leg for until like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, and even now
I was doing the steps and I was like.
And even now, like I'm still not like good. Like I'm good enough, or like I've gotten respect from certain peers and stuff, which is awesome. But like I still have so much more to grow, and if I really want to really get into it, but you can't like a lot of times people would like a good example, not even like would be Toy Box, where like I'm not a big fan of his style of dancing, but like the style that he choreographs and teaches is perfect for like the gram and like YouTube. Like okay, we're gonna do house steps. a little bit of choreo, kind of mix it together, and we'll have like a nice package. So at the end of the class, you can perform it and do that. But like a lot of the teachers that teach house, that's not really the way of it. You know, you're like people's way of like teaching different styles now has evolved so that the gram is a little bit more like you're doing stuff specifically to make it look good.
Gram friendly.
Yeah, pretty much. Like you're not just going to like, you know, a Ken Swift class and learning 6-step 1,000 times. Like now there's like a whole routine. You got top rock, you got this, that. And like, but the kids
show.
Yeah, but the kids are, that's what they want now. Like if you just show them pieces of stuff, they're not going to put it together. You have to put it together for them. And so that's why, like, even teaching for me, like all the time I would teach, I was like, yeah, this is like we can record it, but what are we gonna do? Just jack all day, just like something like this.
Yeah. No, I learned a class from Mr. Wiggles, and all we did for a whole hour was do the Fresno.
Yeah.
The Fresno, like for a whole hour, and it was a teacher level class, and we were just like, and I understood, like, okay, this is what it is. Like, I'm trying to learn the technique so I can evolve from it.
Exactly, but the way people are looking to learn is now I want to do something so I can show it. Like
I have to show you I'm working on it.
Yeah, like one of my old interns at work,
crazy.
she's like 20, and she grew up in like the BDC Broadway Dance Center. Like, I think she teaches like young kids and all that kind of stuff. So she took Brian Friedman's class all the time and all that.
Yeah.
So she's a good dancer. Like I've seen her stuff, and so it was funny because she just posted one, and she did I think Brian was teaching her Broadway Dance Center, and so like she was picked as one of the 3, and I was like watching it. It was like very like Brian Friedman, which is like the same type of movements. It hasn't changed in like 15 years, but it's perfect for this little snapshot of 40 seconds of, you know, 3 like cute girls dancing into his stuff, and then you put it on the gram and it gets 1,000 likes, and it goes from there. You know? So it's like
It's crazy what they do now. Like they post stuff, and it's like 8/8 counts, 16, a whole song, like almost.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, you learned all that in class? Like, how fast were you picking this up?
But then again, now
crazy.
imagine if they use that same like mentality or effort into learning an actual style.
To drill.
Drill. Like say if you just taught all those people like whacking, but like just like the basics of it and killed it for an hour and a half, they could easily take that and go bananas, you know.
How do we instill that in people's minds?
It's more. It has to start from a micro level more than the macro. You know, like even people that teach, like I look at other people's house classes and like somehow I'm like, ugh, I cringe a little bit. But then at the same time, there's aspects of it that work and helps the people, and it's like a small thing, you know, baby steps kind of a thing.
Yeah. Because we have to find a way to engage the student and say. And for them to understand, like, okay, we're going to do the jack for 30 minutes and then the loose leg for another 30 minutes just to drill that. But most of the kids are like, what?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Totally true.
Like,
if I was doing a B-boy class, like, would you want to just be doing top rock for the whole class? Unless, like, that was a specific thing. Like, hey, we're going to do B-boying, but we're going to do top rock first. And, like, hey, where's the 6-step? Where's this? Where's that? Like, I didn't take a top rock class. I wanted to learn how to get down.
When do I start that?
Yeah, exactly. Which is, like, crazy. Which is, I mean, the reason why now you have, like top rock classes. Like, whacking and wacko and them have it. So, yeah, it's really interesting. It's the more the mentality of, like, teaching. Like, Cricket now, like, I use his name a lot because he taught me a lot of house and stuff, but he has, like, 3 separate classes. So he has an actual, like, intro kind of, like, house class. He has, like, a floor work class, which is, like, a mix of, like, b-boying stuff, lofting, like, that kind of stuff, but just understanding the floor, how to move around on it and all that kind of stuff. It kind of incorporates different stuff. And then he has, like, a freestyle class that's specifically for using what you already have and then finding your flow and all that kind of stuff, which is dope. Like, that's a concept class. It's not really like, hey, we're going to freestyle, but it's like you're figuring out what moves you want to do. It's not, there's no choreo, there's nothing like that. You're just like using what you already have and like mixing it all together.
I just picked up a nugget there. Concept class.
Yeah, it's more concepts. You know, concepts are
Is that branded that way in the East Coast?
I mean, people do it, but they don't say it like that. You know,
I'm still in that camp.
You can have it. I give away my information for free so that when you become super popular and rich,
okay,
come back.
I had a freestyler from Florida come, and he wanted to teach. We couldn't figure out what to name his class the way he's formulated because he wanted to teach freestyle. And it was crazy how he taught freestyle. I've never experienced it before. I didn't take it because I was like filming him and I was documenting the whole thing. And he broke it down into body parts. So for the first 10, 15 minutes, they were just working on the head. So they would bob the head in different directions, in different rhythms, syncopations, and stuff like that. And then he moved to the chest. And then arms. And we didn't get to legs. We got to hips. But afterwards, the whole class was freestyling because they understood like how to move their head and isolate things. Because when we started to freestyle, we're thinking, cool moves.
Yeah.
I need moves to freestyle. But honestly, if you know how to like circle your head, move, isolate your chest, you're actually, as long as you're moving to the beat, you're kind of freestyling.
Exactly.
It was crazy to me, and I was like, whoa, he actually engaged everyone, and everyone was comfortable enough to jump in the circle because we've done all those little steps.
Yeah, that's awesome. And
the reason why I bring that up, because we were like trying to figure out what to call that kind of class, and as someone that booked him and as a producer of whatever workshop he taught, we were like, I don't know, let's just call it a class. Like, I don't know what to call it, but
that's dope
dancing.
though.
I think that'd be cool to call it concept.
It's a dancing
concept class.
We're gonna learn how to dance, guys.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Move to the music.
yeah, it was crazy. I was like, whoa, I'm stealing it. I'm stealing all that.
Enjoy it. I mean, but even like, say for instance, like, there's not really, like, I was talking to one of my friends that he's a classic freestyle dancer in the Bay Area. He doesn't dance as much anymore, but like, he started with locking, he went to popping, then he learned hip hop, and then he went house. Mm-hmm. And he's really dope, but he doesn't go competitions. He's not in a dance group. Like, he's like, if you didn't know someone in that realm of like circles and all that kind of stuff, you wouldn't know who he was. But he's super dope. And so we're talking about dance. And he was like, nowadays there's really no such thing as like hip hop or house as much anymore because everything's so mixed and blended together. So like, you'll see people trying to do hip hop stuff, but they're throwing in so many extra things that there's no core foundation of it. And like, I kind of disagree with them on the house part because there's still a house foundation, but then so many people that are popular now are mixing in everything else. So it's like, it's almost getting lost in the sauce. Like, I like Hurricane locking, but then the reason why he's so dope is because he mixes other things into it to kind of give that L, because his musicality is bananas. But he'll be locking as his core, but he'll throw in a little house. He'll throw in a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but he still comes back to the locking. Where that was my biggest thing when I would go to an all styles battle in New York. All styles meant that you know all styles, so any music that comes, you would adjust to that,
right?
Along with freestyle.
Yeah.
In the Bay, it was like all styles battle. Like, oh, cool. Oh, it's a popper versus a b-boy. Y'all don't know how to freaking do it's like, you're not changing your style to the music. You're just kind of doing that one style. Like, that's kind
you're doing your style to whatever music.
Yeah, I was like, that's kind of boring. Like, I don't know. I want to just like like if I know multiple styles and you only b-boy, this is kind of boring. Like, you know, like you just did an air flare to 90. What am I gonna do? Besides, honestly, I could probably just sit there and you just like isolate your chest. It's better than doing an air flare. But then how do you judge that? Like, you know,
right.
But that's why I like, and in New York, like you go to like Step Your Game Up or those, they have specific. This is a hip hop comp. This is locking. This is popping. This is house. And cool, you're doing other stuff, but your core still needs to be that whatever competition you just entered. And I noticed that in the Bay, like we were doing way more all styles battles as opposed to more specific things. And so, or they'll just do a freestyle battle, which is kind of like, are you guys really freestyling or are you just doing your style? Like, you know, it's like, I don't know where the line blends, you know? So I think sometimes, like, it is kind of cool that at least New York was a little bit more definitive when they were talking about it. And when they say definitive, it's like, some of the best blockers to me, their core is locking, but they add in so much extra stuff, but they still bring it back to locking. Mm-hmm. And in house, it's like the same thing. Like some of my favorite house dancers, their core is still house, but then they'll add in so much extra sauce, but then come back to house, just to let you know, like, this is what I'm doing, you know?
Yeah. Like I just saw a battle that Ejo did for Summer.
Summer Dance Forever. He was like, sick too. He's
sick.
Actually, because Cricket was there, and he was like, dude, Ejo was like deathly ill, about to pass out. Next day, wanted to come.
Like he did some house steps, but he was literally just moving. Mm-hmm. Like he was moving like almost tribal-ish.
Yep.
And I was
fluid, and he's doing flocking and this and that, and like flowing and everything together.
He'll show you house steps, but then that's not. He was in a house battle. But, man.
But I think that's the aspect too, where it's like now seeing younger dancers, they don't even have a foundation to start from, so their foundation has been freestyle. So like, if a song that kind of would make your movement be more b-boy hip hop-ish or more popping, they just do them to that song, but then don't understand that like the songs kind of dictate the moves roughly. But a lot of kids don't look at it that way anymore. They kind of just like, I'm just gonna do whatever I'm doing, you know?
Yeah.
Because my favorite dancers are the twins. Yeah.
I saw a post that Jardy just posted, like I think yesterday, about, don't quote me on the post, but the context was that he used to be afraid that some younger kid is going to take his job, or like YouTube is going to replace him, but he's confident that it took him years to learn house. That it takes years. You can always mimic it and watch it on YouTube, but to really like capture the essence of it, it takes years.
But also,
to understand.
but that's if you really want to, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Most kids now, like, you can learn like top rock and stuff, but are you trying to be your top rock to be as good as Wackos or like or like Kid Swift or something like that?
Yeah.
And like we're at our open session. Ejo stopped by, hung out, just like chilling. And one of the younger kids asked him about loose legs, and he was like, "Oh yeah, cool. You do this, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Watching." I was like, "Oh, this is a cool little moment." And it comes over to me. He's like, "Oh, that was kind of weird. It didn't seem like it was right though." And I was laughing, and I was like, "Oh, weird. Like, what was wrong?" He was just like, "Well, he literally pulled out his phone, was on YouTube. It was like Cliff Jardy, and he's like, it didn't look like this." And I just started laughing because he didn't have the concept that someone like Ejo
was the pioneer.
Yeah. So someone like Ejo is an elder showing you how to do a specific move, but you were referencing someone else that
learned it from Ejo.
Exactly. But he has no concept of that. And so that's a marketing job on their fault, because it's like, yo, if Ejo is showing you a move, shut the fuck up and you learn it. But like, if you don't know that, then how would you know?
But that's what I've been saying.
It's an eye-opening.
They only value more the internet and the views and the clicks more than an actual conversation, more than an actual physical vibe in a moment.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's like, I don't know if we can change that, because they just they respect that more. And how do I tell them not to respect that? Show up at their door, call them out? Like again, I don't know.
And this is why I go back to referencing Mr. Wiggles, because he's doing a great job as an elder to still preserve the culture and the style, and he's still evolving. He's like, I'm still a pioneer. Even Poppin' Pete, he's still using the platform.
Yeah.
And he's still posting. Like,
I mean,
I barely post.
Yeah, I mean, Stretch had a good point. Like, it was a couple years ago, but you said like he learns all of the newer dances from his daughter.
Yeah.
And so she keeps him fresh. Like, because again, if you're a hip hop dancer, you should know every Fortnite dance.
Yeah.
Sad to say, but you should. Like, I hate all of them, but I know how to do them. Like,
I teach it.
So I was like, these stupid ass dances are still stupid, but like, as a dancer, I should know how to do them.
Yeah.
You know? I should be like doing the shoot.
If they are easy, then you should be able to do them.
Exactly.
Air quotes.
Yeah. Like, when I used to teach people, it was like, you can make fun of people dancing, but if you can't actually mimic their dancing, then what are you doing? Like, you're telling me you're a dancer, but you can't mimic this horrible dancer next to you. So it's a weird, it's a concept, like you said. Like, social media definitely did change it, because we would like look at stuff through tapes and stuff and be like, oh man, that's dope. This person's doing some cool shit. I don't want to do the same.
But we wouldn't take it as law. So if we saw the Storm B-Boy tape, we didn't say, oh, that's how you have to go into your windmills. It was more like, oh, that's how he does it.
Yeah,
like, exactly. It wasn't like, that's the standard.
Yep.
You're doing it wrong if you're not that.
Yeah.
And I think just this generation, they're so used to getting an answer, right? Like, oh, what's 45 plus 95? Like, I can just Google it and it gets the answer, right? They don't have to, like, do any kind of thinking. So I think they're just so used to getting something as a measuring stick, or, that's the litmus test, right?
Yeah, the options. There's no, like, and then it's interesting to watch I went to the new parish last night, to the People's Party, and there's like a lot of people are into hustle now. Everyone's in hustle now. Like, the Bay is hilarious. Like, seeing how the trends come on. Like, everyone whacking was a trend. There was like a bunch of horrible whackers, and then it was like voguing was a trend. There were horrible voguers, but because they were so devoid of some of the essence that makes voguing cool and whacking cool. Hustle's the same thing, and also circle etiquette. So like, I'm watching the circle. People are hustle dancing. Dope. This happens in New York, but there's a lot. But in New York, if you don't have that much space, then you understand your space, and you also know there's tons of people there. So you're in a circle for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and you hop out.
Get out.
But the Bay is just like, oh my gosh, I'm hustle dancing. I'm showing my moves, and they're like in there for like 2 whole minutes. I'm like, yo, like,
this whole song's mine.
Yeah, there's like mad people here. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're killing the vibe. And like, but I started to see that because, again, that circle etiquette hasn't been taught or spread around so that they know that. Like, they're too busy trying to show off all the time, which everybody wants to do. But there's no like, oh, okay. Even the b-boy circles, we know like when a set goes too long, or you're just all right, dude, you've lost it. It's time for you to move. But now that mentality is just like, oh, I know how to hustle, so I want to keep showing it. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And even then, the style of hustling is a very specific style as opposed to like the old school style. But that's if you're in New York and you can find a 70-year-old man to teach you how to hustle.
Right. Right.
We need to do a better job teaching as a
Yeah,
as a group.
but it's a
Okay.
mix. Again, it goes a mix. Like, think about it. Like, if teaching is my main bread and butter, am I going to teach the culture, or am I going to get my get those 8s out of me so I can keep it moving? You know,
Yeah.
not to say that either way is the better way, but like, some people are better at like showing history and saying, hey, this move came from this person, or this is blah 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 blah. Like, I learned this step from Marjorie, and Marjorie does a specific style, and another person did it this way, and like dropping those names, and like the better teachers do that, and then the kids remember that. So then when that teacher leaves, and then that person that they drop comes in, they're like, oh, I know you, the teacher that came from before you, he dropped your name. And so a little bit, some of the elders are starting to see and recognize who does that now, because now when they go to these places, they're just, people know them now. And that's like, now they're starting to be like a little bit more welcoming to it, where it's just like, oh, this is a step that was popularized by freaking Brooklyn Terry, because he did this, blah, 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 blah. And then Brooklyn Terry goes to that place, and like, oh, I know you, you're the one that did that one step. So that lineage is there, you know? So if someone was telling me like Sean Evaristo is their favorite dancer, I was like, oh, cool. Do you know who Sean like modeled a lot of his dancing off of? They're like, what? He didn't make it up himself? So that curiosity's not there, you know? Like, we know who Sean's favorite dancer was back then that gave him the level, but he took it to a whole nother level.
Yep.
But he had a base, and then he also learned from other people that helped him.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
Sean, to me, was like one of the best sponges. He would like learn from everyone and then regurgitate it in a way that was his style.
His own
For
way.
sure.
Yeah, it was dope at that.
110% agree.
And that's what I like a lot, his style. Like, he'll learn different pieces from everyone, and he'll just figure out a way to integrate to what he's already doing and then push it out like that. And like, a lot of people don't realize that aspect of it. So it's harder for, like, going back when I watched your guys' Urban Choreo one with Sorrel, and I was all laughing because like, a lot of those kids or the people that want to say Urban Choreo, they can't even tell you who those people they're going to use as their elders got their styles from. So if they can do that, then I'm like, oh, okay, maybe Urban Choreo is a thing because it has foundation, it has elders and all that.
That's a good point there, sir.
Yeah, if you're going to make your own style, then freaking have all the rules of having your own style.
At
like,
least pinpoint.
yeah, like, talk to me like I'm a white professor in, University of whatever. Tell me why this thing is a sociological event.
You're the KRS-One of these.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So like, yeah, like if you're telling me that your style is a style now, like this is a thing, it's devoid of everyone else. Cool. Who's your elders? Who's the foundation? Who's this? Da, 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 da. I'm not saying a bad thing. I'm just asking, like, if you really want to be on
I'm
that
curious
level.
though. Who would you think would be the elders of
I mean,
in your opinion?
you know what it would be? It would be almost like, kind of like what you're talking about, the mumble rap of, and it was hilarious, by the way. Like, I wanted to have a t-shirt that says that choreography is the mumble rap.
Yeah.
And then just go to like a battle fest or like a little dance and just sit there and be like, it's so much fun.
With your dress.
Yeah,
there.
exactly. Because I was like, so the urban choreography conversation and debate is interesting to me because it's devoid of the Black culture contribution to it, and I think that's the part that people are missing. Like, I think Asian culture is trying to figure out something that's theirs, but as well as talking about where they kind of got from, and so they kind of have to figure that balance out, because at the end of the day, there's still tons of Black people that barely know the Asians dance. Like, if it wasn't for like America's Best Dancers, they're like, oh shit, the Asian people dance? Oh, they're pretty good. Oh, not bad. Interesting. Like, I worked at BET. This is what people told me.
But that's also a Black problem itself.
Yes. Yeah, we're
not going to get too
Yeah.
deep into, but that's another Black problem.
That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
But so on top of all that, it goes back to like I was saying. It's like, if you're going to have your own style, like, you should be able to articulate it at a level of academia, and that's where different like house is starting to get to that level where more house dancers that are at a higher education are starting to articulate it in that way, starting to write it down, starting to really get this, instead of having an oral history, they're starting to have a written history. So if Urban Choreo wants to be taken in the same light, they got to do the same thing. And so, like, are they going to reference, the Jedi Clan and Mind Tricks? Are they going to add in the Supermax? Are they going to add in the levels of Kaba and like, even Culture Shock? Culture Shock San Francisco, they had a specific style. culture shock. San Diego had a specific style. Vegas and LA, like they had a big impact on a lot of dancers because like what's the lineage? Then you have Funkonometry, where Funkonometry was a SoCal style company, but in the Bay Area. And then at the time, people didn't have that. They were just all crews. Like we're in a crew. We hang out from the same high school and like friend circle. Like now we're a dance group.
One director.
Yeah, all that stuff. So like that, Funkonometry was, specific in that one because they were the first time where like outside of a culture shock that it wasn't a crew. It was actually like different dancers from different walks of life coming together for better or for worse. Like, it was different now. It's like the norm now, like the super crew concept. So I think that Urban Choreo, besides being a horrible name, is if they really want to be taken in that level, then they got to do the work. Like is Sean Evaristo and Mari a like elder, or are there people before them that are elders? Like where does that fall? Like you guys got to tell that to us, so then we can be like, oh, all right, cool. But if you can't tell that, then obviously you haven't thought hard about it. Well, then you just want to have a stamp.
Well, the elephant in the room, and I'll just say it, are you an actual influencer? Because you're not an influencer. For the most part, a lot of these people aren't influencers. They're brainwashers. They can say something and massage someone's brain into it, but they're not actually influencing them. If you're influencing them, you're pushing something else with what you're saying, the propaganda, right? You're not just like, oh, this is what I'm saying and this is what I'm doing, this is it. No. Like, an influencer is not just someone who posts something and says, all these people like it. That's not an influencer. Yeah. An influencer is actually showing you values. He's showing you what's right, what's wrong. That's an influencer, right? Yeah. If I influence you to start selling drugs and stuff, I'm not just saying, yo, sell drugs. No, I'm like, yo, if you sell drugs, you got these dope Jordans. That's an influencer. He's actually influencing.
Yeah, and setting that culture. I think, like, when I was learning stuff from New York, I quickly found that there's not too many dance nerds per se that can talk at a high level and deep level about dance, and as opposed to just the surface. Like, if you notice, like, we're talking about dance, but we're only naming certain people, but we're not having like, oh, this person's style is better than this person, or like choreo cookies are super important because blah 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 blah. So, but instead we're saying concepts and actual things. So there's not too many people that have those higher level conversations about dance, and a lot of times it's just like, oh, just for the culture, just for love and just like peace and love and blah blah blah. No. If this is gonna be real, like, take it for real. There's people in hip hop and other dance styles that live and die for that crap. Like, they're all about it. Like, voguing is specific. Like, whacking, there's culture, there's like elders, there's like this, that, and that, hip hop stuff too, and like house and all that. So if the people that are in the urban choreo realm want to be on that level, they got to think deeply about what they're actually doing. And then once they have it, and then those people that actually are the influencers can be like, all right, urban choreo is this. And then someone's like, well, no, I think it's this. Boom, now you have a debate, now you have a discussion,
I'm curious who the elders are. But you're right.
You're talking about for urban.
For urban. You're right. I mean, the influencers, quote and air quotes, have to be the ones who claim that.
Yeah.
I think you can't claim yourself as an elder, right?
I don't even know if they're doing that, though.
Yeah, I don't think
I don't even feel they're doing that.
Like,
I feel
they're
just trying to step out and be themselves, but it's like, again, with great power comes great responsibility, right? So when you got these million people that follow you, that's a responsibility.
Yeah.
You can't just throw shit out now. You're not just a dude with 400 followers like me. You got to be careful. And you're a brainwasher or you're an influencer.
Yeah, and also it's like, how many people will say, how many people actually know the lineage of, say, a Jabberwockies? Before Jabberwockies, there was this. Before that, there was this. They came from this. This person taught them. Blah, blah, blah. So there's a whole thing about that. If your average kid that is like super into Kinjas, but they don't know where, how, or Kinjas even got there, just like, okay, so you're a brainwasher because you don't really know, you're not paying attention, Or, there's, how many levels of Kaba and like how many, freaking like all them.
To get to GRV.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, there's so many, like,
Before the GRV, there's the Kaba moderns, there's all that, So.
Yeah. It's a big family tree in history. So there's definitely something there, but I think it's on the people that really want to push this agenda of separating themselves out of hip hop, quote unquote, that has to like make that thing. Like, we know it because we're just dance nerds and we pay attention. But like, if y'all can't even get to our level, then how are you supposed to make a movement? Besides having a logo and catching flies all day.
Yeah, you gotta. If you love it, it gets deeper than the surface.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
In
Like,
general, if you play an instrument, you play guitar, and you only know how to play 2 notes, and you say you love guitar, you don't really love guitar, right? If you can't play all the notes.
yeah, and then
So
also
it gets-
understand who revolutionized it. Like, do you know that John Mayer is an amazing guitar player?
By having a 4-string and a 5-string, you gotta get geek out
Yeah.
if you love that shit.
Yeah,
And
but
so-
if you're just on some just like, oh, I don't want people making fun of me no more, then it's like, all right, dude, you're gonna get some thicker skin. Like, that's some black culture shit. Like, oh, nigga, you whack. Like, now show me that you're not. Oh, you're not? Okay, cool. All right, you're good.
but it's the shortcuts. That's why it's like the mumble rap, man.
Yeah.
I don't need to put together punchlines and metaphors, right? If I
Yeah.
just need to just get in my bars, get in the floors, get in the bars, get in my bars, right? So
Hurts my heart.
if that's all I need to do is just mush it together, then
Why am I bombing like atomic beam?
I can just mush it together with choreography.
Yeah.
I could I could do the Chicago fast feet thing right now and for 2 counts, and then jump back into tutting and like that's if that's urban choreo, then that's urban choreo. That's cool.
Yeah.
But again, it's to me that's why it's mumble rap.
Yeah.
You don't have to actually be good at
Any one thing.
any one thing and have like a definition to it. You know?
Yeah, and I think it's cool because which if that's what it is, fine. That's not bad. Just say that's what it is and then keep it moving.
Yeah.
You know, like if it's something deeper than that, tell me something deeper than that. Like just it's on the people that really want to elevate it to that level. And so like you're trying to convince a 50 to 60-year-old black man that's been doing hip hop for 30, 40 years that your urban choreo is a thing. And they're just like, you're just doing like sloppy other stuff.
You're just mixing everything together, which is cool,
you know,
and which is as you're supposed to do as a dancer, right? Part of your dance journey is taking all this in, building it, and putting it out on your own. Like, totally get it, but to try to say that's a movement or that's a style, I just kind of really don't understand. But
yeah, I'm not there yet, dude. And I'm getting better at not like outright hating. It's more just asking the question.
I just don't understand.
Yeah, like if I'm asking more questions about your style than you're actually telling, that's not a good thing, dude. He's like, you go back, think, do some homework.
So when I first saw turfing, I was like, that's kind of like tutting in a sense. When they would like do like without the tense or like the lines, but I was like curious, like. But I knew that there was an essence that was like I'm missing.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a culture there that I'm missing, especially when I first saw Yak Films film turfing.
Light feet, same thing. Flexing, same thing. Like each one is like similar to parts of popping and this and that. But then they'll have this is like if you're a light fit, there's certain aspects of it that are your base, and then they build on top of that, which is like dope. Like I remember I was like, because I was watching light feet, and I was like, I don't really get it. Like I get it, but I'm like, I wasn't really into it. And then when I started talking to a couple of kids, they just like kind of show me some stuff. I was like, oh, I get it now. This is the foundation. This is that. This is how you guys build. This is how you guys bring in.
But there's still a Cypher element.
Yes.
If you think about everything, crumping, turfing, there's still a freestyle sharing element.
Yeah.
Urban choreo, does it have that?
Yeah.
Do you just jump in the circle and urban choreo? Like I don't. You know what I mean? Like
catchwise.
But like that's what I feel is missing. Like there isn't that.
Yeah.
There isn't a way to. It's not about testing or battling or anything like that.
But sharing the information.
Yeah, like sharing, like how, like Cypher etiquette and crumping is different. You can push them. You're actually allowed to push and crump.
Yeah.
Where in b-boying, it's like no, don't touch.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
so that's what I'm saying. Like there's this etiquette. There's things you can teach and learn. There's values, right? And then if there's urban choreo, the values are what? Showing up on time, paying the dude at the front desk. Like what's the actual etiquette of this culture of this thing besides mixing everything together? And that's kind of where I'm like, I just don't understand.
Yeah. Also, too, it's choreography, right? It's not really a freestyle form dance.
Choreography comes from from dancing freely.
Yeah, like I'm freestyling and I'm teaching my freestyle to everyone else.
Right? It's like these are my dance moves, but I'm just segmenting them into moves and counting them so you can do them. Right? So it really is kind of the same thing, right? This is how I dance. I kind of do my light foot and then I jack. And then, like that's how I dance. I'm just going to break it down like I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? Like, so it's broken down, but it's really someone's freestyle, right?
Yeah.
Air quotes. It's someone's regular.
And I think that aspect of it was dope because a lot of the older folks, they were saying that if it wasn't for the Japanese back then, that's what got them better at teaching because they were the first ones to be like, hey, how do you do that? Like, how do you do what? Like what you just did? I don't know. Let me see. And then, okay, well, I guess they did this first, and then to this, and that. Like, they were the first ones to really, like, want to mimic someone else's dancing style and kind of strict that structure. And so this is, like, a 90s situation. It's, like, house and hip-hop shit. But, yeah, they're the ones that actually forced a lot of the freestyle dancers from Brooklyn and all that were on tour with Mariah and Janet and all that to actually, like, what are you doing?
Break it
down. Yeah,
down.
like, really break it down. And, like, if no one's really telling you that, like, you're just a hood kid from Brooklyn, and now some kid from Japan's like, hey, man, how do you do that? I don't know, I just move. But they had to sit down and really do it. Crazy Legs, and then with B-Boy, same stuff. Like, they started traveling more, and more people were like, well, how do you do that? And so then they're like, oh, I guess we got to really, I guess it's 1, 2, 3.
How do you continuous
4,
chair?
5, 6.
Oh, that's a windmill.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. How'd you come up with that? Oh, I was trying to chair again and again. I fell. Now it's a windmill. Oh, cool. You know, like that's the things you have to learn.
I was watching kung fu movies, and I just put it together. And it's like, where did the flair come from? Oh, it's like this one kid named Kurt Thomas. He's like did flares and pommel horse, but he did on the actual like open floor gymnastics thing, and it was like the first time someone had done it without the pommel horse. And then people integrated that into like breakdancing. So it's like those aspects of it is if I'm a urban choreo kid, I want that level of detail and nerdiness about your thing. And if you can't get to that level, you obviously don't know it well enough, you know.
Like, why does every set have to have Lightfoot? Like, break that down. Like, it seems like that's part of the recipe, but explain why.
So if there's no explosion, does it end? If there's no talking, if there's only one slow song, is that a choreo cookies thing? If there's no cussing, is that this?
Right.
But yeah, so I think those aspects of it. Like, again, I think you could easily do it. You just have to really break it down. Like, certain, like, who is it? Like, Mind Tricks, when they were on, in Jedi Clan, when they first started, they were really about hip-hop stuff. So they always used to use very specific hip-hop stuff, funk things. They would incorporate locking into their stuff. They really try to look for songs that were, like, not used by other people. Like, they're really on that part, you know? Chain Reaction, when at their heyday, they always like to be happy. They used to throw like themes together and like take something from like Ocean's 11 and have that carry over through their whole piece. And like other people didn't do that then, so it was like, is that part of it? Like where is when like Sean's Gen 2, Sean's loved using R&B music, especially slow and like stuff, and all melts all the girls' hearts.
Ballads.
Yeah, and ballads and stuff. Alan loved to be bitchy and like fun and sassy and stuff. So it's like, are you going to be adding all these aspects from different aspects of it, or are you going to slice it in half? Bay Area was like this, SoCal was like that.
Originality is dead in general all over with every dance. Yeah. Like B-boys from Florida don't dance like Florida B-boys no more.
Yeah,
so
that's the internet thing,
yeah.
Which is really sad, but I get it. Like,
yeah, we can't change that. Yeah. That genie's out the bottle.
Yeah, so. That was, man, you could totally tell someone's style from how they would breakdance. Like, oh shit, you're from Vegas. Oh,
you're from DC.
Yeah, you could totally tell. Now you can't tell at all.
So infused.
Yeah, and even in like
it's the same, but I'm not gonna get too started.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. But even like say different house dance too. Like there's certain house dancers like you can tell where they learned from because of how they kind of present themselves. But now it started mushed together. Like there's certain people that would kind of dance like a certain dancer and like that's your lineage. But now it's like mixed up, which good and bad, whatever. But
yeah, pros and cons.
Yeah, it's like everything. So even the choreo dancer kids now, it's like, who's your favorite dancer? Like, you can name it, but it doesn't show in your dance. It just shows that you like those people. It doesn't like, I don't see too many like, like choreographers. Yes, like these are the Sean clones. These are the choreo kickies, Mari, Keone clones. These are the all the younger kid now clones. I can't remember them anymore. But that's the thing too. It's like if I can't remember who you are, and you're like, you look like this person, I'm bored already. Like. I can tell who you're cloning after as opposed to who you were influenced by.
Right.
So I think that aspect of the part to me gets boring where I'm just like, it's cool, you really like Jabberwockies or you really like choreo cookies. That's fine. But like you're not doing anything new with that information,
Because you've also seen it. You've seen it.
Yeah, but I have a long memory and most people don't have one. That's the other aspect of it too. Like we're old men and we like have long memories. Like I can tell you, I remember when Sean started to learn a certain aspect of his style, and now 15 years later, this is the part that he does. But other people don't have that memory, or they don't have that. They weren't around for that. So if that's the case, how are these elders, quote unquote, going to now start speaking about that? So that's the part where it's going to be most interesting to me. And I think it might actually happen. I think that can kind of,
I'm just waiting to see if there's going to be a group that can blow up that doesn't have like and I'm not trying to use the word gimmick in a bad way, but a gimmick. So like with Gary, like when I was dancing with him, it was like you're dancing in that suit, right? So no one can see who you are,
Yeah.
right? And then that translated into Jabberwockies. It was like, okay, let's use a mask.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you're Asian or what, right?
Yeah.
You can hide behind this mask. And then you got Kinjaz, right? You just got to wear this thing that's on your face to cover your face. So you got something to hide your identity.
Yeah. And you're all one, then more or less.
Yeah, and then you got AOV, you got the face paint. So I just feel like there's something there where it's about hiding who they are and just doing it, and it seems like it's more widely accepted.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for it to change from that. And there's no disrespect to them because that's what they do. But I'm just saying I'm waiting for it to change from that to where it's actually the people.
Yeah.
You're not in a suit anymore. You're not with the face painted. You don't look like all the same kind of people.
Yeah, you're kind of stopped it. Well, I mean, when we go to some shows in New York, that was the thing that kind of bugged me out because like I'm so used to like clean syncopation, everyone's on it, people practice this piece for 6 months and it comes out amazing. Where like New York was like, oh, there's a show in 2 weeks, you guys want to do it? You, let's do it. And then they just make it happen. And it's like a little sloppy, but the feel is really cool. And the vibe was, the energy and the vibe was dope, but it wasn't like the cleanest or wasn't like super like staged out or anything. Like there's no props. It was just literally kind of organic, pushed together. And at first I was like, oh man, this is really whack. But then as I started to be there longer, I started to see, oh, it's more about dancing with your friends and dancing with these people and presenting it out there as opposed to looking exactly the same and having a lot of fun. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like I actually appreciated that more. But yeah, I think I'm curious to see what the next like non-gimmick is going to be.
Yeah, or if that can even ever bubble up.
Yeah,
you know?
Like our gimmick is we're just ourselves.
I mean, even like Super Crew, those are the homies, but it's like, well, they're b-boys, so you give them a pass on some of the other things.
Yeah.
They don't b-boy, so I'm waiting to see if we can be widely accepted as just us.
Yeah, I guess that.
Asian or not, black or not, tall, fat, doesn't matter. Like, I'm waiting for it to change to that because it just feels like you have to have this easy to swallow gimmick.
Yeah,
they're ninjas. They have a face mask, so they're Kinjaz. And they do the Asian tuts a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, cool. Oh, that's AOV. They're angry and they're villains and they're face painted, so they crump kind of and they're really aggressive. Like, okay, like I get the packaging, I get it's easy to but I'm waiting for us as a dance scene, I guess, to kind of just break past that.
Yeah, I accept.
I see one bubbling. I see Chris Martin and this guy named Larkin Poynton. They're from Colorado, and they just released.
It's Mari's brother, right?
Mari's brother, and they just released a film, like a short film that is kind of like urban choreography, and their movement is so organic, but they're still very clean. It's weird. Like if you took all the styles and mashed them up, and I'm just blown away by it because the way they stage, it's so organic. You don't hear a 5, 6, 7, 8 new formation, or like you see your typical V formation and spread. It's all like they're just moving organically, and it's crazy. And I think a lot of teams are unfortunately mimicking that formula. So I think that's a a trend that's like kind of bubbling up.
It's the turning point.
Yeah, and like kind of like what Sarah was saying too on the last one, where she was kind of like, people instead of being inspired by people, they just copy it and add that to their arsenal, as opposed to being like, oh man, that's dope. I like that concept. How can we do it in a way that's different, but it's still in that realm of that?
But I think that's something we have to teach as well.
Yeah,
you have to teach them how to sample.
Yeah.
Hey, this is how you take something, but this is how you flip it and change it so that it's not just a straight bite.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's the job of the elders before their generation. Now I'm like 2 generations removed, maybe even 3, just from being actively in it. Yeah. And then you guys are maybe like 1 or 2, or just that you still have people, kids, and all that kind of stuff. So it's always interesting in that aspect. But I like it too because like I'll just sit down and just watch like the kids, and I'm just like, yo, this is hilarious. Like they're all super into it and like name dropping and stuff. Yeah. Like, oh, cool, man. And then like they try to do a circle and they're really horrible at it, but that's cool. They try.
Yeah. Imagine me sitting in there like an old ass man trying to keep up with the movement. It's crazy. Like my body, it was like it was introduced to it by our good friend Jimmy O'Shea because he was very abstract in the sense. And I was like, wow, this is weird because when we were dancing, our choreography was clean, precise, executed well, and we tried to be very little room for variety.
Yeah.
Right? We still had feel, but now, like, the movement is, like, and the way the kids hear the music is, like, how we were hearing it, but now elevated. It's, like, crazy. So
Yeah, there's a lot of kids, too, that, like, they started, like, one of my favorite dancers is this kid, Dorian, and he's Mowgli, and his dancer name, but he went to Juilliard.
Wow.
And, like, he was too young to go to the club, so he would just go to Union Square and just dance, and then we invited him to come to the open sessions. And so we would teach him house and stuff like that.
Oh.
So in Juilliard, he was learning all the Juilliard stuff. Then he was learning house. Plus he was learning b-boying. Plus he was learning popping. Yeah. So like he's an amazing dancer. And so now he doesn't really have any style. He's a lot of the experimental comps and that kind of stuff. And he'll just put up videos of him just grooving to the music. Like, I feel like today is gonna be air. Just do a whole like piece of just him doing air movement that he feels is that thing. And it's like that's dope. Like you didn't have many people doing that before. So I think that aspect of it is actually the cool part where like I like that the kids are trying to take different pieces and put it together and kind of do some stuff. Now it's just like, okay, cool. Now go a little further and like not convince me, but actually like deeply think about what you're doing as opposed to just being like, I'm just a dancer. I'm gonna move. You catch a lot of flies. Sorry, I'm catching flies right now. You can't see me, but that's what you ought to be doing.
Oh, that's horrible. That's horrible. Yeah, man.
We talked about everything else but what we're supposed to talk about. But we did kind of touch on it.
We got a little New York sprinkles in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thanks for coming out, Cam.
Yeah, no problem, man. It's fun stuff. As you can tell, I talk a lot.
The KRS-One of hip-hop dance.
Ugh, that's horrible. I don't like KRS-One.
He doesn't. That's why it's like disrespect to him. I actually love KRS, so I'm with him. But
he's like a weird old man now. He just like the temple.
But he drops knowledge, though.
He does.
He drops knowledge.
I only say that because it's annoying. That's
if you go to his show and you're battling and you're taking up the attention, he'll stop his show and tell you to get on stage because you're part of the entertainment.
Yeah,
and he's done that to me once. He was like, y'all taking too much attention. Get up here, and we ended up battling on stage. So I love KRS because of that. Like,
but I think that aspect of it, and also I like him because he's a nerd about it. Like
he's really thinking this deep about it.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I think that's the main thing where there's very few people that can have a deep conversation about that hip hop on that level because a lot of people don't take it that level. He really loves this shit, like that level of rap, and like now some parts of it might be wrong or whatever. That's a whole other thing. But like, and even me, like I'm speaking like an authority or like a mini elder, but I'm not an elder.
And his intentions are good.
Yeah, like I'm just listening to people and like regurgitating and then also adding my aspect of it. The reason I was getting more respect was because I would state an opinion and be like, okay, cool, let's go back and forth, as opposed to listening to an elder and then taking their word as God and realizing that everyone has their own opinions and viewpoints of that history. So if you listen to all of them at once, you can kind of piece it together. But yeah, just having those discussions and like more people have it. Like I think for Sorrel and all that, like for her next Body Rock, like she should definitely do a panel of like different perspectives and opinions and having this conversation. Right. Having those workshops where it's not about the choreography, it's about just the sharing of information, having those open sessions. Like Body Rock would be an amazing open session like opportunity, like when we used to do Bust a Groove in the back and everyone was just hanging out, what we were doing, talking, having fun, like interacting with each other, dancing, just like, just vibing out. Like you don't have those aspects of the choreo scene as much anymore. And I think that's what's missing to kind of like share. Like there's not this choreographer from this group is teaching this group a piece, and like they don't do that anymore, which is really sad actually. Like
for like a workshop.
Yeah, like it's like so yeah, those open sessions and like the sharing and the exchanging of ideas like helps like people would grow as just dancers in general, as opposed to just like I'm gonna look cool because I'm a dance crew and like I have a jacket. Like so.
Well, I'm inspired by this conversation because I feel like I learned to now be more open with. Because I've always held on to that. I don't want to come off like, look at him, dropping names, dropping all this stuff. Like, now I feel like I have a responsibility to share those things, at least my perspective, so then they can make their own, judgment on it or like have it in their brain, even if they're receptive of it or not.
Yeah.
Because I was always afraid of like, oh, here we go, Mappy, here we go again, talking about like what he did with Fungonometry and Phoenix and all this other shit like he's done. I never liked that whenever I came out of my mouth, but I think if I switch my mentality and share that with everybody, I think little things like, hey, like in my own open session, like, okay, you get a verse and jump out, like get your set in and then get out, like little things, like little moments like that. 2 minutes of like, okay, when people are jumping in, don't just like take up the whole thing, even if you're feeling it, just like like little moments like that. Because I was always afraid of, oh, here he goes again, teaching. I never wanted to be that, but from this conversation, I feel like it's needed. And, like Richter and I made this podcast, and now it's, hopefully this is reaching somewhere, and it's dope. It's dope having you here, and it's like, you dropped a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah, man, it's fun, dude. You just gotta, like, I'm a lot more teaching dance formally and informally helped me share more as opposed to teach. And then and plus by sharing, I didn't expect people to listen or not. Like, if they asked me a question, I'll definitely be like, oh yeah, no problem, blah, 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 blah. But, like, Cricket had a good point where he's like, there's certain people that if you ask the right question, they'll open up everything. But if you're just asking like, oh, hey, how do you do this move? And then that person will be like, oh, you just do this, da, da, da. But then if you go like, hey, I noticed if you do this move, and it kind of connects to this move when it goes to then that person opens up, and they're like, oh, you're a dance nerd too. You're paying attention. All right, this is what you do. You do this, and then mix it with this, and then add it, and then the whole body lights up. And so a lot of dancers don't know how to ask those, like, correct questions. And not correct, but, like, a way of questioning that opens up some people. Because, I mean, not everyone's, like, I talk a lot, but other dancers that are really dope, a lot of them don't dance. They don't talk that much. But if you discover something, then they're way more receptive and like, oh, I see you're in a journey that's interesting. I want to participate in that journey. And so like those open sessions and like sharing your knowledge and all that, like, but I was at the parish yesterday and I was with my girlfriend and like we have a long running thing where she's never seen me dance before, which she dance but not dance, like hop in a circle,
go off.
Yeah. But a lot of people say, oh, I haven't seen. You haven't really like gone off in a long time. And I was like, well, because I'm not inspired anymore. Like in New York, I'm in a circle and there's freaking people that are 15 years older than me. 2, they invented half the dances that I know or popularized it. So it's like, fuck, I gotta really set my game up and like make sure I'm on the level. But like where I'm at other places, like, people are dancing and they're just not really that good, or just the vibe not that fun. So it's actually more fun just to dance with my girlfriend and just act silly and enjoy it than it is to hop in a circle around the people that I don't really think are good dancers. Might be nice people, but doesn't mean, and again, that's some elitist shit or whatever. But then again, if you're in a circle and there's some dope ass dancers, you're like, oh shit,
I want to share it too.
Yeah, like this is gonna be fun. Like this is a good moment, and like I would see those things like when a Twitch would come to New York or other dancers, and like we all vibe in a session at like whatever dance, whatever party, because oh man, everyone here are freaking heavy hitters. You all like the vibe is dope. Like you want to participate and share in this big group of dope dancers, and like the chorus is a level of impressing, but it's also part of just sharing the floor with like really great dancers, and it inspires you to get better. Where if like you're in a place and it's like you're the only quote unquote good dancer, then you might as well just chill, have your drink, have fun with your girl, and enjoy just like the vibe. But like if I'm around like other dancers that I know are super dope and they're in that mode, we're like, yo, let's have a little fun. Then like, okay, cool, let's freaking shut the whole shit down.
Cool.
So yeah, man, that's the good stuff. So people out there, go forth and be great.
Thanks for coming on, sir.
Yeah. Until next time, we out. Peace. Thank you for listening to the Decipher podcast. Show your support by passing this episode along on your social media. If there are any topics you would like us to discuss on future episodes or feedback on this episode, please leave us a comment or message. Peace, positivity, and prosperity.